Hey Tom, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad today, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not
Okay.
too bad today.
Yeah. Um, Tell me a bit about yourself, please, Tom.
I'm 24 from Coventry. I'm a sports coach and PE teacher. I've been doing that since I was 18. I've been working with children since I was 16 when I left school. I went through college and then found a job in sports coaching, PE teaching, etc. And I've been doing that since. I've struggled with mental health issues since about the age of 13, so I'm 24 now, so that's 11 years ago that they all started.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So it's a very long time for me.
It has been
But
a long time.
yeah, and the thing was at that age, I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what depression meant. I didn't know what anxiety was. I was not clued up on it at all. I had no idea what I was going through. I used to get counselling at school, and then they referred me to the Minds charity because I was too strong for what the school could offer.
Right.
And I used to have to go and speak to someone from Mind every Monday in like a group session kind of thing. I've got a certificate at the end of all of that, but nothing ever really changed. It's always been present for the past 11 years now with me. It's a daily battle, daily battle every day.
Wow. So, okay, before we start, do you have a pen and paper with you by any chance?
No.
Okay. Can you get one, or is it going to take a bit too long?
It'll probably take a bit too long, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's start with this. I'm going to write it out. I've got my paper right here, by the way. So if you see me looking down, it's just that I'm writing notes, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's go back. Let's go back as far as you can and tell me about the first time you kind of like encountered, like you said, you're going through some form of mental trauma or mental challenge at that time.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first time you was going through a trauma. What happened then? And what age were you?
Early as I can remember. There was trauma in my life. I'm not going to pinpoint what it was, but when I started to realise the effects of it was when I was 13. Moods had become extremely low. Shaking in my hands, fidgeting, uncontrollable crying. Some nights the crying would last 3 hours. The worthlessness, feeling unwanted. There was a lot of hopelessness towards me, self-hate, and if something bad would happen to me, I would self-destruct. I would blame myself and start to bring harm to myself, really, because that was the only way. Even now, as a 24-year-old man, it's the only way I know how to deal with things really that happen to me.
Okay. And so, what age? Whatever that thing is, obviously you know, I don't know, we don't know, just yourself. What age did that particular thing happen?
From about the age of 5 right up until 14, basically.
Okay, 5 until 14.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about? We're not going to talk about that particular thing. It's up to you. You share what you can handle.
Yeah.
Tell me about your feelings when you was 5. What was you feeling? So if you could give me one word per feeling, so you like scared, this, that, like, if you can tell me what was the feelings you was experiencing. So one of them you said scared, yeah?
Yeah, there was isolation. Fear comes with the scared as well. There was a lot of dread as well, like going to school, coming out of my bedroom, being around people. There was a lot of dread about everything that I had to do.
Right. And you said isolation.
Yeah, I would isolate myself away from people, which I still have done now.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to go through each one with you. And normally I would ask why, but in this case, it's not something you're prepared to share at this time. And so normally I would ask, how was you feeling, which I just asked. And now the second thing I would normally ask is why, so we can get down to it. So I'm going to try and approach it from a different angle. So you were scared. What was going on in your mind at that time when you were scared? What was your self-conversation?
It was just, as a child, I wasn't old enough or clued up enough to think maturely. But I had to grow up from a very young age. Like, I had to have more mature feelings from a very young age, and it was survival mode a lot of the time for me. That's what it was. It was constant survival mode as a child. And as someone that works with children, I know that they grow off positivity and praise, whereas I was surrounded by a lot of negativity and people knocking me down basically all the time. So yeah, it transcends into adult life when that's what you grow up with, because it's all you know, it's what you've been taught as a younger, and obviously I brought it into adult life, which is once I'm discharged from the crisis ward that I'm on now, is what has to be trained out of me, like my brain rewired, etc.
Yes. Okay. And so we're going to get to that shortly. So you're on a crisis ward at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of them was scared. The other one was fear. Tell me about the fear that you was experiencing at that time.
I received a lot of bullying at school, within primary and secondary school. It would be physical, verbal, differed a lot of the time. And like I say, when it comes to the dread, that is what I would dread, going to school, being around, and that came with the isolation, the bullying.
Right. And so would we also say that the dread was also anxiety? You was getting really anxious.
Yeah, about simple things like schools, PE. As a PE teacher now, believe it or not, I used to get really anxious about doing PE. I never wanted to do it. I used to get nervous about lessons that would, say, be out of the usual routine. Like, I had to have continuity and consistency, because if I broke out of that, I would become fearful, scared, because I was always constantly worried about what people were going to do or what they'd think of me.
Right.
From a young age.
How did you deal with it, or what did you try to do to deal with it? Was it just the isolation? You just used to hide yourself away, or did you have tools to try and deal with it? What is it that you was doing on a daily basis that, as a coping mechanism, what did you try to do at that time?
When I was a young child, I just sort of had to do it. Like, in primary school settings, it was like, well, you've got no choice, you've got to do it. So I would self-destruct when I would go to bed at night, cry, be fearful, scared. I wouldn't go to sleep. I'd put off going to sleep so the next day didn't come. And then as I came over to a teenager, I had coping mechanisms like self-harm. If I would self-harm, it would take me away from my thoughts and my feelings, as it was like a focus. So I used to, self-harm very regularly as a teenager to just escape, really. It was the only way I knew how to deal with things.
For many people, they don't understand self-harm. Let's try and look at that together for a second, and we're going to go back. Is it that the self-conversation in your mind was so loud about what was going on that the self-harm was a release from the shouting and screaming and the playback in your mind? Is that correct, or was it something else?
It's that, and then it was something else as well. Like,
Yeah.
if I was having a hard time, the self-harm would be a bit of a release to, like you say, get them emotions out.
Mm-hmm.
It would take my mind off how I was thinking or feeling, and then if something was going wrong, or if it was something that would hurt me emotionally, or like something was going on at home where it would upset people, I would blame myself.
Mm.
And then it would be, first initial reaction would be self-destruction, bring yourself harm, hurt yourself, blame yourself because it's your fault. Even if it wasn't my fault at all, it would be, it's your fault, you've got to hurt and pay for that. That was what would go on in my mind.
Yeah.
So it was a range of things why I did it, really.
I understand. And so what used to happen is you used to go in a pattern, and it used to be a rotation of emotions that you'll go through, and with those emotions there was a self-conversation as well.
Yeah.
And so you will tell yourself you're not worthy, you're not good enough, why am I here? And with that, the emotions came, the anger came, the frustration came, the worthlessness came. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, you've named a lot of things that I felt and still do feel then, like worthlessness. There was a lot of hopelessness about me as a teenager as well. I felt hopeless. I never felt wanted, loved, anything. It was always felt as a teenager like the world would be better without me in it. I always thought that. So I was constantly battling suicidal thoughts all the time.
Yeah.
I would constantly be telling myself, I don't want to be here. Just every day it would be, I don't want to be here, I want to die. And as a teenager, you don't know how to regulate that, because from a child up to a teenager in primary, secondary school, there was no education on mental health. There was nothing. There was not even an hour's lesson just to upskill people briefly on what it was. I had no idea what it was. I thought it was normal then, because it was something that I'd always experienced. It was just normality to me.
Yeah.
I never questioned it, if that makes sense. I never thought to seek proper help because it's all I knew. So I thought it was normality, and of course it's not. As I've grown older now, I fully understand mental health. But back then I had no idea. I used to look at celebrities that would suffer and think, oh, why are they suffering? They've got loads of money, they're wealthy, they're well off. What on earth have they got to feel bad about? That was how uneducated I was on it, even though I was suffering. So I always think now that children from a young age need to be educated on it. That's my opinion anyway.
So you said 5 up until the age of 13. What happened at 13 where there was a change? Or
At 13 was when the self-harm started. That was when the suicidal thoughts began. I think as my mind was developing and I was developing, I would run out of home a lot of the time. I would sit in my room and think, I want to die, I don't want to be here. Then the self-harm would start as a way of stopping those thoughts. I never planned, like people that are suicidal can make plans to end their life. I never planned it. It was just repetitive in my head and telling myself, don't want to be here, want to die constantly. I was never clued up enough on how to end my life back then. I think that's what kept me alive, really. Just not having the education on how to take it. Because at school I struggled terribly. I couldn't engage in lessons because I was so withdrawn all the time, and my grades suffered because of that.
So how would you love to feel? What would be your ideal feelings?
Happiness.
Okay.
In
I'm
current
write
minds,
this down for you. Happiness.
Yeah. To feel wanted. To feel like I have a purpose and feel like I have hope.
Hope. Brilliant. Purpose.
Because
brilliant.
Yeah, because right now all of that is pretty void for me.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask you something. What does happiness look like to you?
See, I was having this debate with myself about a week ago,
Mhm.
and I spoke with the crisis team about this. I said, I don't know what it is. I can't identify it. I said to them, I can't remember the last time I was happy, the last day I had that I can say that was good. I just have no idea how to be happy, feel happy, or even, I just have no idea what it is at all.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We'll find that. We'll find that. And when you say wanted, what does wanted look like to you?
Like when I say I feel like the world would be better without me in it, people would have it easier, people would be better off. To feel wanted, so to feel like not feel that, basically, to feel as though people would be okay with me being around and like I'm not a burden to people with the way that I'm feeling.
Okay. So let's go. I'd like to look at that. Let's challenge that together. Let's challenge it. Let's look at when you say the world will be better off without you. I'm gonna ask you this first. What harm have you done to the world, do you believe?
Can't pinpoint that at all.
Because you haven't harmed the world.
No, can't pinpoint that. No.
Okay. Who have you destroyed?
Obviously I've upset people, but not
But we've
destroyed
all
them.
upset people. Every single one of us.
Yeah, not destroyed them. No.
Okay.
No.
So would you accept that upsetting people is normal? We've all done it. There's not one person on this planet that hasn't upset someone before.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We're all human. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of mistakes. Like I say, upset people, but I guess everybody does that. I haven't ever destroyed anyone at all.
So would you agree that the world wouldn't be better off without you because you haven't done no harm to anyone within the world, or you haven't done no harm to the world itself?
I think that comes with a sense of that, like, I'm a burden to people.
Yes.
Like, my mental health issues for some people have been too much.
Yes.
And they've dragged people down or affected people negatively.
Mhm.
Because for a long time I haven't been able to regulate it or have any control over it.
Mhm.
So that's where that feeling comes from. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, if I'm not here, then it's not, my mental health isn't affecting them. So it's easier for them.
Okay, so let's challenge that, because I knew you was going to get to the burden part. Let's challenge that. Okay, so I want you to pinpoint someone who loves you and you love them, okay?
Yeah.
And so you've got a neutral connection of understanding of how you feel about each other, yeah?
Yeah.
And I want you to not think about it from an emotional perspective for a second. Let's talk about it from a logical perspective, okay? Because emotions, it can send us all over the place, all right? And we'll talk about that shortly. Logically, if that person could never hug you again, never say hello to you again, never see you again, how do you think that person would feel? That one person who you're thinking about.
It would probably devastate them, because it was only a couple of weeks ago they were saying to me that I just want you to live.
Okay.
And they were getting upset. Yeah, it would have a bad negative impact on their life.
And do you think their life will be changed forever?
Yeah, because we've been best friends now for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
And he's that one person in life that I've always gone to without hesitation and will tell anything without hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is certain things that no one in this world knows, that only he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same both ways, really.
Yeah. And so would you say it's fair enough to say that the world wouldn't be better off without you, your world wouldn't be better off without you, because that particular person they will lose someone so precious to them that it will probably break them. So if you was to choose logically, if I wasn't here or if I was here, that person would be better off, what one would you choose? Logically.
To be here logically, yeah.
Okay, to be here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your mind for a second. I always say this to people. Our minds are not big fans of us. Sounds really crazy, yeah? But our mind is not a big fan of us.
Yeah.
All our mind wants is an experience. That's what our mind wants, an experience. This is why you see people self-harm, as you said. People bungee jump, people get on crazy roller coaster rides, people skydive, people climb mountains, because the mind is seeking an experience. And it doesn't care what happens to the body in the process of seeking an experience. And so you've got two sides of you. You've got your spiritual side. Your spiritual side wants you to be here. Your spiritual side is very, very protective over you. It doesn't even like when you do certain things like bungee jump or skydive, because it realizes how fragile the body is. Where the mind, on the other hand, the mind just wants an experience. It doesn't kind of care about the consequences. It's got a mindset of, or the mindset has got a mindset of we'll deal with it later. We'll deal with it later. And this is how people get into trouble most of the time. It's like, let me steal that thing. Well, what if I get caught? You won't get caught. We'll deal with that later. Then they get caught, and then it's like, okay, run. And it's like, you're running now, and then there's a side of you says, no, just stop and let's just give up and hand ourselves over. And it's like, no, climb that fence. Well, that fence is a bit high, and if we fall, and all of a sudden your mind just going from one experience to another, when there's another side of you saying, I don't want to do this. And so what we need to do is lessen the mind and heighten the spiritual self-conversation. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Massively, yeah.
Massively. Brilliant. And so that's what we need to work on, is the self-conversation of the mind and the spiritual conversation with the self. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get back to some of this, because there's a lot here, and we can definitely find solutions. There's 4 stages of happiness, and there's 4 stages of success, but there's also 4 stages of failure. There's 4 stages, okay? Stage number 1 is your belief system. What do you believe? I would love for you to have a pen right now. How long would it take you to get a pen and paper, if you can?
I'm not too sure. There's paper, it's just knowing where a pen is in the house.
Oh wow, I would love for you, because writing this down is very, very, very important.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, I'll wait, because this is important. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I can pause and stuff, it's fine. Right, yep. We're good?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So, as I said, there's 4 stages of success, but there's also 4 stages of failure. Yeah?
Yeah.
Stage number 1 is our belief system. What do we believe? Do we believe we're not good enough? Do we believe we're not worthy? Do we believe we shouldn't be here? Do we believe, what is our belief system? So that's stage 1, what we believe. Okay?
Yeah.
And so we're made out of atoms. Okay? I don't want to get too scientific and stuff, but we're made out of atoms. Okay? Have you ever heard anyone say that to you before?
No.
Okay, cool. We're made out of atoms, and inside of an atom is protons. A proton is a positive charge. Yeah? Electrons. Electron is a negative charge, and a neutron is like a dimmer switch. So everything on this planet is made out of atoms. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you're going through a negative time in your life, you're going through an electron zone. When you're going through a positive time, you're going through a proton zone. And then and in between, you may swing in between, which is a neutron zone. It's like a dimmer switch. You switch on a light, it's not quite bright and it's not quite switched off, it's a dimmer switch. And so that's what we're made out of. So what you're talking to me about is that you're talking about an electron zone.
Okay.
But thank God you are also a proton zone. you're made out of all of the elements, so you can get to that happy place that you're talking about. So let
Yeah.
me go back to it. Your belief system. So at the moment, your belief system, and what your belief system has been, is that um, you don't feel like you're worth being on this planet. You don't feel good enough. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel like, you're loved, and all
Yeah.
these other emotions that you've got going on, and self-conversations you've got going on. That's your belief system. Okay? That's what you
Yeah.
believe about yourself from what you've said to me. And so what happens with that, it goes on to stage 2. Stage 2, if you can write this down. So stage 1 is your belief system. Stage 2 is the meaning you give to things. So because you believe you're not good enough, the meaning you give to things are very negative. So they say, Tom, you're such a great guy. And in your mind, you're like, I'm not a great guy because I'm a burden to you. And so because your belief system is that you are all of those things we've just spoken about, the meaning you give to things, which is stage 2, is a negative self-conversation. So this is the self-conversations you're having. The meaning just means your self-conversation. The meaning you give to things is negative. Okay? And which leads to stage 3. Stage 3 is action. So when you have a negative belief system, the meaning you give to things is negative, and so the actions you take will be negative. So the negative would be, for example, self-harm. Okay?
Yeah.
And when you self-harm, which is the action, it leads on to the final stage, which is stage 4, which is results. So then the result would turn out to be a negative. You see the cut, you feel bad. And so I don't want to even put that in your mouth. How do you feel once you was finishing self-harming, or you've done something that you class as not a good idea, destructive, whatever it may be?
What happens to me is I'll go into something like a trance, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's a very tunnel vision state of mind where everything around me, all the support that is available to me, distractions, I would totally forget that they're there. It's almost like they don't exist to me. I get very set on what I want to do, and then I do it. So say for like self-harm, for example, and then when I break out of that, I snap out of that trance, I snap out of that tunnel vision. And a lot of the time after, I've thought, what the hell have I been doing? I think, what are you doing? That is like, that is ridiculous. You shouldn't be doing that. And then I feel bad for doing it. I feel a lot of regret towards it. There's been times where, like, I've gone and said things to people or done certain things, and then when I break out of that trance, I think, I don't even mean what I said, or I wish I never did what I did. But it's scary when I'm in that trance because I feel like I have no control over my mouth and my actions. I get very possessed and set on what I'm going to do.
Wow, I understand. Wow, powerful. And so it goes back to stage 1 again. Stage 1 is your belief system. And so, as you said, the belief system after the results is regret. You feel bad about yourself and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, your belief goes back to your meaning goes back to action. Your action goes on to results. The results then goes back to your belief system. You know, when you hear people talk about spiraling down and spiraling up, that's the 4 stages of either spiraling down or spiraling up. And so what we want to do is, your mission and your goal right now is to work on your belief system. If we readjust your belief system, then the meaning of the things that you look at would be positive, the actions will be positive, the results will be positive, and that's the opposite way, will be spiraling up. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does.
So what we need to focus on this evening is your belief system. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Totally does.
Brilliant. Has anyone ever spoken to you about like this mindset, or how I'm describing it, or talking to you about it ever before?
No. I mean, the only help that I've ever had was school counselling and the mind. And obviously now I'm with a crisis team.
Mhm.
It's in Coventry. We have something across from the University Hospital, main hospital. There's something called the Caledon Centre,
Right.
and it's a psychiatric hospital
Right.
for mental health patients and people that have got other mental disorders.
Right.
And there's a team of so many people there called the crisis team that will ring me daily. I will see them in appointments. There's a place of safety, which is what I went to once when I attempted suicide. But the second time, there's trained doctors in mental health. There is all sorts of things. So the only help I've ever had is from them, which has been for the last 2 months.
Right.
But they've never touched this, no.
Okay. Does this make sense, what I'm talking about? Do you relate to it, or is it something that you're like, okay, I can get where this...
I'm clicking with it, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so let's now start looking at solutions, okay? So first and foremost, we've got to work on your belief system. Now, there's certain things that's going to seem alien to you, like, I don't really believe that. And it's fine, because we're going to work it in and integrate it in. It's taken so many years for something that's not the truth to become your truth. And now we're going to do the reverse. I'm going to explain how something works first, and just tell me if you understand or you relate to it. And I want you to remember this if you can, okay?
Okay.
Here's my belief system. My belief system is, I believe God is an atom, okay? This is what I believe. I'm not saying other people do. I believe God is an atom, and I believe we are made from and of God. So we are atoms. So that means we are made from and of God, okay? And so that means we meant to be here. This is my belief system, because God has made us, and we come from and made of God, okay? Now, when we were born, we were a precious diamond. Yeah, we were a precious diamond, just the most flawless, beautiful diamond. And people look at this beautiful baby that's a diamond and say, oh my gosh, this baby is beautiful, so pure. And so let's look at this baby as a diamond, okay? A nice big diamond, okay? Just for a moment, okay? Just to visualize it. And then one day someone says, you're not good enough. So then what happens, forgive my French here, but what happens, shit starts to smear over the diamond. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You're ugly. You're skinny. You're fat. You're all of these things. So shit starts to smear over the diamond. See, the diamond is who we are. The shit is who we think we are based upon what other people's been telling us. Yeah. And so then what we do, we forget after a while that we are a diamond. We forget it. And we start to believe we're shit. And so we sprinkles over the shit to try and hide it. The clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the things we say, the things we do on social media. We sprinkle shit sprinkles all over the shit, because we want to hide the shit from the world.
Yeah.
But the goal is not to sprinkle anything over the shit. The goal is to clean the shit away and go back to the diamond. Because the diamond actually sparkles more than the sprinkles. But the diamond is who we are. The shit is what people has smeared all over us over the years.
Yeah.
Your self-conversation at the moment is shit. But who you are is a diamond.
Yeah.
Is that making sense what I'm saying to you, yeah?
It is, yeah. I'm thinking hard about it, but it does, yeah.
And I want you to just always remember that you are a diamond. You're not the shit. The shit is what people has been enforcing on you over the years. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's look at your let's reintroduce a belief system. Let's counter each one. Now, one of them is, from what I understand, just correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm saying it slightly wrong, just please correct me, okay? But I'll probably like you to say it anyway. One of them is that you don't feel worthy. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of worthlessness and self-hate, hating myself.
Okay.
I don't feel like I have an identity either. Don't know who I am anymore.
That's fine. We'll find a way.
Like, over the last 2 months, when my mental health has blew up more than it ever has, thoughts have been the worst they've ever been, really. Like, I'd never attempted suicide, but in the last 2 months I've attempted it 3 times, all 3 different ways. I've never had thoughts that I've had. Depression last month left me to a point where I could not get out of bed every day. It left me curled up in a ball, feeling that worthlessness all the time, feeling everything that I said to you, the worthlessness, the hopelessness, the self-hate. It left me reflecting a lot as well. Last month it was, all the thoughts are that bad, I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't function. I wasn't drinking really. I wasn't eating. My phone would ring, or I'd get a text and I'd ignore it. I would just be like, nah. Completely social withdrawals I had. I didn't want to speak to anyone. Didn't want anybody to see me, because my self-image would upset me. I would look in the mirror for a long time before I was to have to face anybody. I just couldn't function at all. To me, it seemed like a survival mode, because prior to that, I'd attempted my life twice, and I felt like my body went into total survival mode. It was, if you stay in bed, you're safe there, you're alive there. Nothing's going to happen, because the first 2 times were outdoors attempts. The first time, things were brewing during the day. It was March 11th of this year. Things were brewing during the day.
What happened that day? What made you?
It was negative thoughts, like really bad intrusive thoughts. The worthlessness, the self-hate. I was sat in front of my mirror for most of the day, crying, nitpicking at myself, tearing my wardrobe apart about my clothes, everything. I felt so worthless, so worthless. I felt as though I just didn't want to be here anymore. All day it was like, oh my God, I hate myself. I do not want to be here anymore. But I also wanted that feeling to go and not be there anymore, just as much as I didn't want to be here. I wanted that feeling to die, to be squashed, to be gone. And then later that evening, I was shown something by a friend that triggered me badly and upset me emotionally. I don't think it was their intention to, but it did.
Can you tell me what that is, what that trigger was, please?
There was a relationship breakdown, and somebody showed me something to do with that, and it set my emotions off. And so I decided, okay, the way I'll combat this is I'll go for a walk, and things might be okay then. So I grabbed my coat, went out for a walk. It was about 8 o'clock at this time. And I was walking. It was a long time. I was out for an hour, and things were just getting worse and worse and worse. I was like, I'm going to go to McDonald's, quickly get a drink from there, see if it's any better. I have the drink, still no improvement. And then my emotions started blowing up, and I was like, I need to get rid of this feeling now, ASAP. I can't deal with it. I cannot deal with it, because I felt that bad. It was bringing me physical pain. So I was by a train station at the time, and then I started planning in my head, if you go to the train station and just throw yourself in front of the next train that comes, that feeling is dead. It is gone instantly. If you fall in front of a train, it's an instant death. There's no suffering that comes with it. Everything is so instant, it's gone. So I go to the train station, I look at the board, train's in 10 minutes. So there I am, stood over the platform, sort of like leaning forwards. I thought at the time there was no one there. I thought anyway. I didn't think I was suspicious at the time. I thought I was just blending in because I didn't want anyone to be worried about me. I didn't want anyone to know or see what I was doing. I look at the board again, train is in 5 minutes. I'm still leaning over the platform. Next thing I know, there's blue flashing lights, sirens. I think nothing of it. 30 seconds later, 2 police officers are dragging me back saying, no, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. Please come and chat to us in the back of our car. These 2 police officers were the best people ever. Had a great understanding.
Wow.
Brilliant understanding. It was the transport police. So I sat in the back of their car and I literally exploded. All of my emotions just erupted. I've never cried like that, shaked like that, broke down like that in my entire life. It was, everything just came out that was being suppressed all day, that I was trying to combat. And part of the protocol was, look, we have to call an ambulance and you have to go to the hospital and get the right support and go to A&E and check that you're medically okay. So I got in an ambulance and the ambulance staff were brilliant. One of the blokes was saying, I've been sat in that chair, I've been in your position, but we're going to get you help. So I skipped A&E when I got into hospital. I went to something called a rapid assessment part, which is full of people that need urgent assistance, basically. And there is one thing that I noticed when I was in there. It wasn't full of people that were ill. It wasn't full of people that had broken a leg or fell or anything like that. It was mostly people that had attempted their life. Mostly female from when I was in there. There was a girl that had to be held to the bed because she wanted to take the overdose again that didn't work, that was right next to me. All kinds. I stayed overnight in the hospital, and then the guys that I mentioned from the Caledon Centre came over, the crisis team, to see me. And then I went home and started on medication called sertraline.
Sertraline?
Yeah, antidepressant. And that was the beginning. I was started off on 50 milligrams of that. As time went on, when I was going to my appointments, going to the Caledon Centre, it was evident the sertraline wasn't working. It's not supposed to straight away anyway. I was getting worse and worse. My moods were getting worse. I was gradually breaking down to a point where I couldn't function anymore at all. The urge to want to die was getting stronger and stronger every day. I had self-care started to lack. Everything that I had about me was lacking. It was deteriorating very quick. My mind was deteriorating very quick. Things that I wanted to do that were negative and urges that were negative were becoming more present. And one thing that I noticed after that day at the train station was something like never before. It was a negative thing. It was like, you actually have the courage and the power to take your own life now. You've proved to yourself that you can actually do it. Because if the police didn't come, I would have hit that train without fail, without any doubt. I was, like I say about the trance I get stuck in, I was in that trance. But it also proved to me that that trance can get that bad. You can take your own life. So things continued to deteriorate. This was about 2 weeks after the train station incident. On the Monday to the start of this week, not this recent week, but to the week I'm talking about, I was planning how to end my life again. I was thinking, the park nearby has a bridge high enough that if you jump off it, your life would end. I thought anyway. So that was in my head all week. And that week, I wasn't too bad. The plan, the thought was in my head every day, but I wasn't too bad. I was functioning. And it came to that Friday. I waited for my parents to go food shopping as they normally would on a Friday, so no one had noticed that I'd left. They left the house. I left shortly after. Was walking around the park that the bridge was nearby. I remember sitting down. I caught a good angle of a view, watching the view. My head was racing, just racing. The worthlessness was setting in again. Feeling like there was no hope. Self-hate was there.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts of punishment towards myself was there. And then, like I said before, wanting that feeling to go and die was there. I just wanted that feeling gone as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So then when it started to get darker, I walked around to where the bridge was. I was stood on the bridge for about 10 minutes. Just walking back and forth on the bridge. Head was just racing, crying uncontrollably.
Did you want? Do you believe you wanted in that moment someone to save you? Did you want someone to turn up and convince you not to, or was it like, I don't want no one here at this time, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, it was like when I say I waited for my parents to leave and I waited until it was dark. It was a case of me not wanting anyone to see me, not wanting anyone to know what I was doing. It was like, I want this to happen. For a long time, there was nobody that could convince me that there was a reason to live at all. I said to one of my friends the day before I went to the bridge, I said, I could chat to someone for about 5 hours, and for that 5 hours, they could give me reasons to live. And I would walk out the chat and still think that there isn't point in me living and I don't want to live.
Yeah.
So I was on that bridge and it was like, I didn't want anyone to know, I didn't want anyone to see. I pulled myself up and was sat on the barrier of the bridge, leaning down. And I was sat there for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. It wasn't long. Just trying to pluck up the courage to chuck myself off, basically. Next thing I know, there is a police car alongside a fire engine storming down the road. It was a busy road. Thought nothing of it. They stopped right in the middle of the road where I was. Pulled me down. The fire crew did with a ladder. And then the police were like, we're putting you under a section 136, which is where they detain me until I've been seen by a mental health professional to make a decision on me, basically, whether I'm basically safe enough to be in public or to be sectioned properly. So I stayed under the section 136 for a while, was speaking to the officers and the fire crew. They took me to the Caledon Centre Place of Safety that I mentioned. And I had to go through loads of medical assessments and tests there to see if I was injured or anything, or unwell, which I wasn't. Then I seen a team called AMHAT that came down, and they spoke to me. The conversation went on for an hour. And at the time, I wasn't really honest with these guys. The police were telling me, be honest, get the help. But I wasn't honest. It was about 4 a.m. I was exhausted, and I just wanted to go home and go to bed at that point. Like, I was saying anything to get me out of there, to get me home, basically. I was lying to them. It was like, I'm so tired. I don't want to speak to you. I've not got the energy to speak. I just want to go home, go to bed. So I made up a load of rubbish, basically, to make them think that I was all right, even though I knew I wasn't, just so I could go home, go to bed. I had an appointment with the crisis team the next day anyway. That next day, I didn't get out of bed till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The appointment was at 5. I don't think I'd have got up at all if it wasn't for the appointment. And then I was still exhausted when I went to this appointment, so I lied to them again, just because I wanted to go home, and then shut off. And then after that happened on the bridge, that was when my body started to shut down. That is when everything in my life started to just go. That's when I said I couldn't get out of bed. From then on, I could not get out of bed. It was Simple tasks were like impossible to me. They were exhausting. They were too much. They were overwhelming. Like, there was a Mother's Day card for my mum that was on my drawer at the side of the room, and I was looking at it one day. I was like, I need to write it. I need to write it. I need to write it. I couldn't. There was like a mental block on writing it. There was a mental block on doing so many simple things like showering, eating, drinking, just standing up out of bed. It seemed impossible most days. And like, I would say this to the crisis team when they would ring and when I would see them, but I always felt like they didn't get it. I was like, you can say, oh, but you need to do that. But I was like, you don't get it. I can't physically do it. I can't bring myself to do it. Like, some days it would take till 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening, till I could actually do it. And I'd go all that time without drinking or eating anything unless it was brought to me. I didn't feel like people understood that. That is, I think, one of the darkest sides to mental health, is that you just rot, basically. You rot. And I remember saying to somebody, because I put a tweet out on Twitter that was like, I'm struggling terribly. I didn't know where to turn or what to do. One day I was just spent the whole day crying. And someone reached out to me and I said, I'm going to be honest with you, I would rather have like a severe case of COVID to the point that I'm hospitalized than have this. Or I'd rather go outside and take a funny step and like break my ankle or break my leg than have this.
Because at least you know what you're pointing at, right?
Yeah. Like I said to them, I said, if I'm ill or if I have an illness like COVID or I've got the flu or something that's terrible, I know that I can take medication. There's medical treatment there for me. Like, if you have a headache, you take aspirin. You can get rid of it. Mental health issues, you can take your antidepressants or you can take the antipsychotics that I'm on, but it can do nothing for you on that given day. Like, I have to take lorazepam for my anxiety to sedate me from it because it can get that bad. Sometimes that doesn't work, but like, obviously more often than not, painkillers work for headaches. So that's why I say I'd rather be ill or have an injury than have this, because you have a recovery time then. If you're to play football, injure yourself, you get a recovery time. There's a time frame. Mental health, there's no time frame at all. It's one thing I've noticed. It can take some people a month and a half or so when their medication kicks in to get better. But for some people, even when the medication kicks in, they don't get better. So there's no time frame. Like, one of the professional doctors that I've seen down the Caledon Centre, he said, I'm going to be real with you. You're going to go on these courses when the suicidal thoughts are leveled, to retrain your brain. And it can take a year for you to get better. It can take 6 months for you to get better. With mental health, there's not often a time frame. And I'm a person that loves certainty and loves honesty. I hate lies and I hate shiftiness. So I was,
behavior,
yeah. So I was like, I'm glad that you're honest with me and upfront, and not telling me something that I want to hear and then doing something else behind my back. I'm glad that you're being honest. Last month, April, was the worst month ever. I just couldn't function. It was
question, what triggers, what do you think triggers you? What triggers your anxiety or your suicidal thoughts? What do you believe triggers it? So one of them you said before was when someone's talking about relationships. And so I guess there's something that's happened concerning relationships in your past, that when that person showed you a video or spoke about it, it triggered something in the past, which then led to the whole slew of information and self-conversation that led you to thinking about suicide. What triggers you?
It can be such small things. It can be, say, something bad can happen within the family, like it can with every family. and I'll blame myself. Even if it has nothing to do with me, I blame myself. And then the suicidal thoughts come, the self-harm comes.
Spiraling, right? The spiraling process.
Yeah. I was self-destruct, basically.
Yeah.
Most days throughout a long period of years, I have had suicidal thoughts. It's been wanting to die, saying, oh, I just want to die. I don't want to be here. But they were kind of passive at a stage where it'd be like, oh, I want to die. But, oh, tomorrow you're going to the football, you're going to watch the football, so don't die today.
Yeah.
Because you've got that tomorrow.
Self-excuse to live another day. So you're living from moment to moment, trying to find something to hold on to just for another moment.
Yeah, I mean, recently, what has kept me going is the Formula One season restarted, and I idolise Lewis Hamilton, and recently it's been a case of, I want to die, I'll plan it, but then I'll think, oh, but you won't get to see Lewis win the race on Sunday. So it's something as simple as that has kept me around.
I think that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, all right. So let's look at this first and foremost, because I understand, and is it going to be a hard journey? Yes, it is. As you already know, I'm not trying to tell you anything you don't know already, but is it possible you can turn it around? 100% yes. Definitely can turn it around. I can tell you that for a fact. It's going to take time. It's going to take a team of people, and I'm going to explain what those team of people is going to be there for. And I'm happy to help you away from here as well. So it's not just about what we're doing right now. I'm happy to help. I don't want to just do this with you and then I never speak to you again, because it's gonna play on me forever. So I'm gonna definitely help you away from here. What we need to do first and foremost is work on your belief system. Yeah.
I think that is a big part. Yeah,
massive part. But also as well, there's other parts of it. I don't know if anyone's ever said this to you, but we have to also work on your belief system. We have to work on your diet. Has anyone ever said they need to work on your diet before?
Yeah, I mean, like I said last month, I was in a low functioning stage, where diet would sometimes vary from eating absolutely nothing to, if something was brought to me, I'd eat it all in one go.
And what kind of stuff do you normally eat on a normal day?
Over the last 5 years, diet hasn't been great. It would dip between good some weeks, but then it would go bad again. Just wouldn't be able to keep up with a good diet.
What kind of foods do you eat?
Now I've started a good diet. I've gone back to boxing again, which is something that I used to enjoy. Just on the bag for now. So there's a lot of exercise, a lot of sweat there.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Like yesterday I went and it was like I sweated that much. I don't think I've ever sweat that much in my life. So it's been a lot of speed food for me recently that I've been trying to have, alongside protein, trying to keep that balance. Because as a PE teacher, I know what you need and what you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So, but previous years, there was a lot of self-neglect, where it was takeaway food because it was easier. Because I would get that exhausted with my mind. It would just be that was easier. That didn't require any energy. I didn't have to cook that. I didn't have to spend time cooking that and then washing up after. It would be easy. And then throughout the day, because I just didn't have the energy to make something for the next day at work. I'd have something unhealthy, like chocolate, sweets, fizzy drinks, and no one needs to tell me the bad effect that has on you as someone that studied the
you know it
physical...
logically, but emotionally in those moments it goes out the window, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, when you're that drained by the way that you are mentally, it's hard to keep a good diet. Because a lot of the time when I would come home from work, I would just crash in my bed because the daily mental tasks that I'd have would physically exhaust me. Like when people say they're mentally exhausted, they're not just mentally exhausted, it becomes physical as well.
Yes, yes.
It comes to
Weighs
a
on the
point where
body.
they are physically so tired. It's like tonight, the plan was to go to the gym earlier in the day, but I couldn't because I'd had a rough morning and I was mentally exhausted from it. And I needed time to relax, because if I went to the gym, I wouldn't be able to function this evening at all. I would be so tired, I wouldn't be able to lift my head off the pillow. I've had days like that where I've been that mentally exhausted. Lifting my head off the pillow is like, it comes up and then it goes straight back down. I'm that tired. That was mainly last month when I went through the whole shutdown phase that I was in.
Right, so let's talk about the depression just for a second. I just want to point out something to you. I'm not sure if you've been told this before. So how does it affect your brain? Depression, you know about inflammation, right? So you have inflammation on, if you was to bruise your hand, or you was to cut yourself, your cell and your skin starts to protect itself, and then you'll get like inflammation on the What happens? Depression causes inflammation on the brain.
Okay.
And so when you have inflammation on the brain, that is depression. We needed stress in the days of fight and flight. We needed it, if there was some form of saber-toothed tiger or whatever it may be coming to attack us, we needed to have that moment of adrenaline rush in order to protect ourselves. Okay, we would run faster than normal because the stress levels goes up, or we'll fight the tiger, or whatever it may be. So it's like fight or flight, right? So we're not designed to have stress for long periods of time. Now, what is stress? Stress should normally last about hours, maximum a day, but it should never be more than a matter of hours, because that's the moment of fighting the tiger, or hiding from the tiger, or running for your life. And what's happened over time is the stress has continued for weeks, and then the stress of it causes inflammation on the brain, which then causes depression. And so as I talk about diet, because I'm jumping back and forth a bit, as I'm talking about diet, we also need to look at anti-inflammatories to deal with the depression on the brain. So the anti-inflammatories are things like fish oils and stuff like that. So we need to set up certain supplements to deal with the inflammation on the brain. And so we'll be fighting it from many different angles. So we're going to work on your belief system, which then deals with the past. We're going to deal with the diet, which deals with the body and the healthy mind. We're going to deal with certain supplements, etc., which will deal with the inflammation on the brain. So for example, certain fish oils, there's a thing called St. John's wort. These are all natural stuff. St. John's wort, which will deal with that, which directly deals with depression. This is all herbs and stuff like that, and supplements. And there's one also called passion flower. And so all of these things will deal with your moods and depression, etc. So what we need to do, we need to fight it from many different angles. There's no one particular way, okay? And so, as I said, what we need to work on is your new-founded belief system. And so we need to work on your belief system of purpose. We need to deal with, and purpose will deal with hopelessness. When you find your purpose, then it would automatically by default deal with your hopelessness. We also need to deal with your self-conversation of punishing yourself. And the punishing yourself, as I said, where I've got an idea, but I'm not going to address it because you don't want to talk about certain things. So I'm going around in circles in a sense. You'd understand, I would understand, okay? You need to deal with a process of forgiveness, self-forgiveness, but also forgiveness for another person, or another two, or another three people, or the others. So you need to forgive both. Now, forgiving the other side is not because you're doing them a favor, it's because you're releasing yourself from that detachment. And
Yeah.
forgiving yourself is forgiving yourself and allowing yourself to be a human being. At the moment, you're punishing yourself for many different reasons. It's my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have been there at that time. Maybe I shouldn't have this, and so on and so forth. So we need to deal with the process of forgiveness as well. And I'm going to, away from here, put a system together for you. Yeah,
Okay.
so you give me a few days. I'm going to put a system together, the things to take, the things to do. I wish you was in London. So if you was in London, I'll grab you by the collar and we'll be working together, you know. And so I'm going to be working on a trauma center soon anyway. So hopefully I'll get this trauma center open. But you'll be fine by then. But in the future, I'll have a trauma center so people can come in and I'll work on them daily. They'll stay over at night and all the rest of it. So we need to deal with that side. And what we need to do as well, we need to have what I call an accountability partner for you. So have you heard of accountability partner before?
No.
Okay. See, here's the thing. At this precise time, you're doing it all by yourself. I mean, yes, you've got support around you and you've got people who love you, but we need to have an accountability partner in place for you, that when you wake up in the morning, if something needs to be done, that person's going to hold you to account. At the moment, you're your own accountability partner, and that's not a good idea at times because you just can't be asked. Sometimes you can't be asked, sometimes you don't want to, and so on and so forth. So when you have an accountability partner, that person holds you to account and they say, like, Tom, this is what you've got. Remember, you've got to do this at 6 o'clock or you've got to do this at 9 o'clock. And so what happens, it will go from, I don't want to do it, you're getting on my nerves, leave me alone, to I want to do it. Because before, you was forced into doing certain things, like when you was going to school, you didn't want to be there and so on and so forth, until you broke into a pattern. Now we need to bring someone else in to help you break into a new pattern. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. How does it sound to you so far?
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, obviously there's work, there's self-conversation and all the rest of it, so we need to put things in place. So let's start with stage one. And we obviously we can't do this all in a day. It's impossible to do it all in a day. But as long as I just get you to say it's possible, that's for me success for the day. That would be, I would imagine, success for both of us. The fact that it's possible and yet I can see myself doing it.
Yeah.
So stage one is your belief system, as we spoke about before. Okay. So if you can write this down and let's work on the belief system together. First and foremost, we need to work on your belief that you have a purpose in this world. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, purpose.
Okay.
What is it that we believe you can do in this world that will give massive value in this world? Believe it or not, at this precise time, you're helping. What age group are you doing PE with?
It's primary school years, so it's from about 4 years old to 11.
Okay, 4 years old to 11. Do you believe you're helping them for the best?
When I'm in a bad headspace, I believe that I shouldn't be teaching them. Like some days when I'm really, really, really bad, I believe I'm the last person that should be teaching them. But on other days that I'm coping or stable enough to function, I believe that, I am helping them and that they will progress. Also, in terms of purpose, I've been thinking recently that I don't want to go through this experience and then be like at the end of it, well, yeah, I experienced that, it gets better, end of, to someone else that's suffering. Like, I want to be in a position where I can help other people from what I've experienced.
I love that. I love that.
It's like, I don't want to go through it for no reason. Like, I don't want it to get better and be like, oh yeah, I went through that as well. Yeah. No, I want to actually be able to be educated enough to be in a position where if someone else is going what I'm going through, or someone else is going through something similar or a hard time, that I can actually help them get through it and see the other side to it.
I think that's powerful. Absolutely powerful. So there's two sides we're seeing of this now, and to do with your purpose. So let's write this down. Your mission is to help, build, and empower people.
Yep.
Yeah. What can we do in order for you to help build and empower people?
I can raise as much awareness as I can by being open about the things that I've been through.
I love that.
I was even thinking, because Coventry University is a very good university, thinking of studying mental health nursing there when I'm better, to maybe go into it as a job, because my problem is that I've seen people that are mental health professionals, and I think a lot of the time anyone, random person off the street, could tell me what they've told me. They clearly haven't been through any mental difficulty, and it's all cliche stuff.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've come out of sessions where I felt significantly worse. There is two that I can pinpoint. The first one was just an appointment with the crisis team, and they just kept saying to me, "You just got to keep going. You just got to keep going."
It's almost condescending, right?
Yeah,
and patronizing.
And I was like, "Do you think I haven't told myself that? Do you think I haven't thought that I need to keep going? Or do you think that someone else hasn't told me that you need to keep going?"
Yeah.
Like, it is patronizing. It was the worst feeling ever, and I felt very suicidal coming out of that.
Wow.
That meeting with them, I was like, I was getting the bus home, and I was like, I could literally just throw myself in front of that bus right now instead of actually getting on it. They made me feel that bad.
Wow.
Luckily, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I came home and ended up falling asleep that day. But there was a second time as well. And these people are supposed to help and make decisions on people's mental health. It's a team called AMHAT in Coventry. Now, this was going back to my third suicide attempt, which was an overdose at the end of April last month. That came about because when I said to you I wasn't functioning at all, I was like, I can't do this anymore. That is it. Can not do this every day, all day. I was like, the moment that I wake up in the morning, it is on me. I don't get a minute or two to wake up and gather my thoughts. It is bang, it's straight on me. So the moment that I somehow fall asleep, I was like, I can't do this. I physically cannot do it. So what was happening was I started stockpiling my antidepressants, because I talked about overdose before, so all the painkillers in the house were hidden from me. So I started stockpiling my antidepressants that they were giving me. I ended up with 15 of my sertraline in the end, and I swallowed all of them, one after the other. Sat on my bed, kept going. For about 15 minutes, I felt nothing, like nothing had changed in me. And then I came out of that trance that I said I'll go into, and I was like, oh no. So I told Dad, who then said, you need to ring the Caledon Centre, the crisis team, now. So I rang them, and they were like, well, you need an ambulance, don't you? Like, we can't do anything for you at the minute whilst you've took that.
Right.
So an ambulance comes out. They take my ECG readings. They said these are far too high. So I had to go into hospital. I had to eat this thing that they call charcoal. It was like, it tasted the most disgusting thing that you could ever put in your mouth. But apparently it was it all breaks down what you've took. It tries to get it out of your system, tries to flush it out. I was in hospital. They were doing my ECG readings in there. I was hooked up, and I was deteriorating really fast. Like, my heart was erratic. Basically, it was going from low beats per minute that was critical to 170, 180, 190 beats per minute. They were like getting me prepared for a cardiac arrest. That's what they thought I was going to have. My legs were shaking uncontrollably. Body movements were terrible. I was vomiting. And then eventually, when things started to stable down, they were saying, like, you've got to have blood tests. And now one thing that comes with my anxiety is needle phobia.
Right.
So I then had a panic attack on the floor in front of the doctor. I was screaming, vision was blurred. I thought I was going to die in that moment. That's usually what happens when you have a panic attack anyway.
Yeah. I feel like you're having a heart attack, right?
Yeah. It was like I was just screaming help because I thought I was actually going to die on that floor. And then I vomited and snapped out of it, and I was drenched in sweat. But obviously, as the panic attack had happened, they could take the blood test. They could put the cannula in. They said, we're going to have to keep you in. We're going to have to pump you with fluids because your liver is damaged, your kidney is damaged, and we think that your heart is now damaged. So I had to stay in for monitoring and further tests. And a lot changed in me when I was in hospital then. I was trying to build up loads of mental strength. I was talking more than ever. More than ever, I was talking to friends, family, everyone. I was so open about what I'd done.
How did it make you feel when you were talking and expressing and sharing?
It didn't make me feel anything, but what I felt the night that I went in the ambulance and my health was deteriorating, I was scared. Excuse my French, absolutely shit myself.
No, it's
basically.
fine.
Absolutely was petrified of what I'd done. I was like, what on earth have I done? I've really messed myself up. The nurses were like, the side effects of overdoses are that they can affect your health for the rest of your life. Like, you can have health conditions for the rest of your life. Like, they can do seriously bad things to you. I was like, yeah, I know. And everyone was telling me, like, please don't do that again. I was like, I won't at the time. I was building up a lot of mental strength, talking. I was trying to get up in the morning in the hospital to have a shower, because I was like saying the patients around me were actually even trying to help me. They seen how bad I was. And they were like, it's brilliant that you're actually getting up in the morning for the first time and having a shower. Because the first day in there, I remember saying to the nurse, I said, this is the first time I've had a shower in the morning for about a month, I think. It would always come very late in the evening if I actually did it.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's not massive progress, but it's a start. So anyway, a few days in there, and then when they medically discharged me, they were like, because you're under a section at the minute, we can't discharge you.
Yeah. How long was it? Was it 28 days or?
It was, I was in there for 4 days.
Right.
But they were like, when you've been assessed by this AMHAT team, they will either discharge you or you'll get admitted to the Caledon Centre, which across the road, which is the mental health hospital. Where I would be placed under a section of 28 days, they said, if that happens. At that time, it was 72 hours, and then an extra 24 hours was put on top of it. So the AMHAT team come down. I speak to them, and it was the worst conversation I think I've ever had with another human being in my life.
Wow. In what sense?
Okay. It was patronising. It was basically a mockery. Basically, completely disregarding the way that I'd felt, everything that I'd been through. Totally discarded everything. It was basically like, okay, you feel bad, but someone's always got it worse. So it doesn't matter. I hate that. Because someone's got it worse. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, how as a professional are you saying that to me? How can you say that? Like, I remember the conversations that was going on. I stopped responding. I was like, I just want to get out of here because I can't listen to you any longer. They kept telling me, they were like, yeah, you've got it hard, but I had to still come into work whilst COVID was going on.
You got to be kidding me.
Yes, they were saying that. They were saying, you've had it bad, but you were furloughed, so you was all right. I still had to come into work, not knowing if I was bringing this virus back home to my family. I was like, what has that got to do with anything? That doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with this.
Wow. Wow. And what was that person? Was that person a counselor or psychologist or?
It was supposed to be a professional that made a decision on whether I could get discharged mentally or sectioned. So yeah, they were supposed to make referrals for me as well. They made none. The conversation was terrible. They were like, just think of yourself as a brand new Mercedes-Benz and you never stop going. Because if I was to buy an old car, it would probably break down. I was like, again, that makes no sense. That is nothing to me. Like, and they were saying, you have it worse, but say if someone had cancer, they'd be worse off than you. I said,
how can they say that? This is ridiculous.
Yes, this is honest truth. And I was sat there in disbelief, didn't know what to say after that.
Wow.
And they were like, wasn't really writing anything down as they were supposed to, or talking to me about my feelings. It was all about how my feelings are invalid. Someone's always got it worse, basically. Get lost. They said, we don't need to section you. We don't need to admit you to the counselling centre. I'm happy to let you go. And I said at the end, I said, what about referrals, about the trauma that I'd mentioned, that I'd only just about been able to mention? And they were like, no need for that. You can get discharged, you can go home. And I was like, I came out of that and I was crying. I went back to my hospital bed and the patients were like, what the hell has happened? Like, I said, they've just totally discarded the way I felt, just made it sound like it's nothing because someone's always got it worse. I just wanted to get out of the hospital at that point, go home.
I'm pissed to hear that, to be honest with you.
I remember when I was speaking to my dad about it on the way home, I said, if I hadn't built up any mental strength over these last couple of days and talked as much as I had, researched as much as I had, listened to the amount of podcasts that I had, like Tyson Fury, listening to him speak, it was very empowering to me. Just research. I didn't use my time in hospital to rot. I tried to be productive with it and educate myself. I said, if I didn't do that, that conversation that I just had could have killed me.
Wow.
And I said, I'm concerned that someone else could be, worse off than me, or feel the same as me, or even not be as bad as me. And that conversation with that particular person could kill someone. It could literally make them feel 10 times worse. The suicidal thoughts could be even worse. The urge to want to end everything could be even worse if someone else had that conversation with that person that day.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, right? It's gonna be a very, very powerful question. Do you believe you could have done a better job than that person?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that my 11-year-old brother could have done a better job than that person.
No, but right now, do you believe you could have done a better job?
100%. I could have even probably made referrals to someone, I believe, in the right places.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna put this back to you. That person's in a position of power, probably getting paid loads of money, probably whatever it may be, right? And you've just said that you've got more value on this planet doing that job than that person. Do you remember before you said you don't believe you've got feeling worthlessness? You've just stated just now, if you was in that person's position, you would have saved someone's life.
Yeah. I believe even when I'm in one of my worst states, I could do a better job than that person.
Well, let's prove it. Let's put you in that position by helping, building, empowering people. Let's put that forward. You up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So what we should do, we should get you talking to people. Put you in a position of purpose. Put you in a position that you know what so many millions and millions of people are and have experienced. You know what they go through. You know how to talk to them. You know how to help them get to the next stage. You know what everything, what they're going through, what they're probably about to do, what they've just done. You know when they're lying to themselves. You know when they're lying to others. You know. So all we need to do is get you into a place where you truly believe it and you have the tools to not just help others but to help yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, I never wanted to just get over this experience and then that be it with it. I wanted to use it as a tool to help others in the future.
And just be honest. Be honest with me and be honest with yourself. Do you really want to die?
That's a difficult question. It's something that I struggle to answer a lot of the time, because
But how about right now?
right now, no.
No.
But
So let's deal with right now, right now, if that makes sense. Right now, no. Let's work with that. Because here's the thing. I think there's been a time in most of our lives where we all just wanted to just die. But right now where we are, we don't.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's just deal with your right now. And so right now is a no. And maybe 1 hour right now, we can then say again, an hour from now, do I really want to do it? No. Okay, cool. An hour from then, right now, maybe I do. Okay, how can I tackle that? But let's deal with the right nows, because what your mind is doing is searching for a moment to, you remember I said seek an experience? And so, do you like reading books or do you like doing any of those things?
I like watching podcasts. That's one
Okay,
thing
I
really
want you
enjoy.
to study a guy called Eckhart Tolle, because he wrote a book called The Power of Now. And so The Power of Now is partially about being in the moment. And so just kind of YouTube Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and you'll see some stuff on it. Because I want you to just stay in the moment of the now more than it racing around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a system together, because I said there's no way one session today is going to cover, fix, find a solution. It's not going to happen realistically. But I'm going to put a system together for you. You'll have it within the next 2 to 3 days. And what a part of that system is to also have an accountability partner. I would like you to contact a couple people and ask them, do you mind if you can be my accountability partner? And the role of the accountability partner is just going to simply hold you to account for the things that you're going to set, tasks, goals, missions, achievements. They're going to hold you to account for that. Yeah. And so you're not being a burden on them. Absolutely. If anything, it's the opposite. You're now giving them a position to play a powerful, positive position in your life. So now you're saying, for example, listen, I want to study this particular thing. Can you please just make sure and hold me to account that when I say no, they're going to say, listen, stop fucking about. Yeah, you need to go and focus on that today. Because your mind is going to say no, because your mind wants to stay where your mind wants to stay. But what we're going to do, as you said, we need to rewire your thought process, your mindset, your belief system. And it's going to fight like hell. But in return, your network around you is going to fight until it falls in line. So that's the goal and the mission. So as I said, what I'm going to put together first is going to be the first thing I'm going to work on. I'm not going to work on your actions yet. I'm going to work on your belief system. So I'm going to put some stuff together for you and I'm going to send it over to you. Then we'll have some conversations about it. And then we're going to work on your self-talk, your self-conversation. So as I said, the 4 stages is your belief system, the meaning you give to things, the actions you take, the results you get, which then reinforces your belief system. So we need to get the belief system right first. Then we can work on your self-conversation. Because at the moment, we've worked on we've recognized you can do a better job than people who are in a position and they shouldn't be in a position. So we know one of your belief system, you believe you can do better. Yeah? Okay, great. So now let's put something together that's going to prove that you can do better. And it's going to make you feel good about yourself. It's going to make you have a good self-conversation. Okay, wow, I've done something today which is better. And so we need to put that in place. The second thing we need to put in place in no particular order, is a self-system of reassurance and forgiveness. And so we need to put all these things together. So as I said, I'm gonna put a list together. We'll go over the list together. You may add some. You may say, I'm not comfortable with that one. Can we just adjust it around? And if it's something that can be adjusted, great. If not, and it needs to be there, I may push you a bit and urge you a bit, because at times you're not gonna like me. Yeah, at times you're gonna be like, Kevin's an arsehole. But the arsehole Kevin in those moments will get you to a place where you're gonna feel better. Then we're going to work on your supplements and diets. And so, as I said, St. John's wort, passion flower, fish oils will deal with inflammation on the brain and your moods as well. And as I said, inflammation in the brain is depression. And so we're going to work on certain things, and they're all natural as well. So side effects, no need to worry. They are really good, and I'll find some other stuff as well. And so whilst we're working on different parts to deal with bringing down the inflammation on your brain, we'll be working on your belief system and some other stuff. Yes, you're gonna have low days. Yes, you're gonna be fighting at times. You're gonna go through like a psychological cold turkey. However, I do honestly believe, and I'm not just saying it, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass or anything like that, I do honestly believe you can turn this around. Now, what do we know? We know it's a bit like alcohol. You have to always be very careful not to dance with depression or to do certain things. So, for example, and what I mean by that, I'll give you an example, is what do you watch on TV? What are you going to listen to on radio? Or what do you play in your headphones or whatever it may be on your phone? All of those things have to be managed because they can trigger stuff. So watching something on TV that's negative, it can trigger. So we have to be very consciously aware about the things you watch, the things you talk about, the things you listen to. They all have to be managed because they all can kind of change the dynamics of the way you're looking at yourself or looking at the world. Like, for example, talking about COVID too much affects so many people, and then all of a sudden it turns into another place. So we have to manage your intake of information, conversation, music, TV, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Has anyone ever spoken to you about that before? The
no,
intake?
it's never really come across my mind either. It's never something that has been there with me at all. Like, I've never seen that as a potential trigger or something that could harm someone.
Yeah. And does it make sense now that we've spoken about it?
It does. Yeah, it does massively.
Yeah.
Like, there's a pattern to like music that I listen to in certain moods.
What do you listen to?
I listen to drill, rap, hip hop, and then house music alongside that.
And you know they are major triggers for depression, right? And anger and frustration.
Like, the drill is something that triggers frustration. Yeah.
Yeah. And so once again, they are all a part of the direction of going into a deep dark depression, all of it. And so what we're going to do as well, we're going to do another session next week if you want to, and it's going to be offline. It's going to be just me and you, no cameras, no nothing, because I really want to drill into you, using the term, forgive the pun, but I really want to drill into you a whole new system. So what we're going to do, the plan is, first and foremost, I want to know your daily routine. And I know it fluctuates and it differs based upon your moods, but we'll find a pattern. And so I want to know your daily routine, hour to hour. And then what we're going to do is start adjusting that daily routine. Yeah. And so instead of you doing this, we're going to do that instead. And then I want to look at the things that's in your surroundings. So when you're at home, we need to look at the frequency of what's in your house. What triggers in your house? Are there pictures? Are there certain type of clothing? We need to look at every little thing. And so once again, there are triggers that could be in your house. We could be walking around, you could be looking around your house, or you could walk past a picture, or you could walk past even a color, and that could be a trigger. So we need to look at the frequency as well of what's going on in your house. So we're going to be working on that side.
Yeah.
And once again, we're not once again. We're also going to be looking at conversations with other people. For example, you may have someone that pisses you off every time they message you or talk to you. So once again, we're going to have to limit those kind of things as well. It sounds very strict, but we know your emotional and mental challenges is ruthless. So we have to be ruthless in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, there's one thing last week that happened with people that I talked to that trigger me. There's one person that is going through a pretty rough time themselves, but they know they know the trigger and it is disposable, but they won't dispose of the trigger. And I gave all the help that I could give, and it was still negativity. They were texting me with negativity all day, every day. And I noticed that it was affecting my mood. So I just said, I'd give up. I said, I've helped you as much as I can, gave as much advice as there is for me to give. I give up. I can't deal with the negativity all day, with the way that I'm feeling at the minute. It's bringing me down and halting my recovery, your negativity. Now that may sound horrible, harsh, but when you say about the ruthlessness to my mental illness, basically that was me being ruthless to combat something that was daily bringing my mood down, which was negativity that I was receiving every day.
Well, I'm going to explain something to you. And I want you to, I like to explain the science of things so people can kind of take it away and remember it themselves.
Yeah.
Remember I said we're electrons.
Yeah.
And we're protons and we're neutrons. Okay. When you're in an electron zone, you're in a negative zone. And so that means other electrons like connecting with it. Have you ever heard the term before, misery loves company?
Yeah.
Yeah. So frequency loves frequency. So a negative frequency loves a negative frequency. And so you lot were bonding and connecting based upon a negative frequency. But as soon as you wanted to move from an electron zone to a proton zone, they tried to pull you back down into that frequency. And so you can't help that person because you're in the same frequency as them.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
You cannot feel bad because you need to get out of that frequency. And the only way you're going to get out of that frequency is by focus on the proton zone, which is more positive. Two electrons can't dance together and move to protons. You need intervention from a proton zone. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what we're going to do, we're going to, as I said, implement protons from all different angles in your world. As I said, from supplements, self-conversation, looking at belief system. I've got a list right here, by the way. That's why I'm always looking down, because I'm writing things down. I've got a list right here, by the way, of all the things that I'm gonna introduce to you, from exercise, building your dreams, resting, prayers and affirmation, and reading psalms and stuff like that, eating the right foods, laughter and smiling. I know that must be hard, but like, do you watch and do you listen to comedy and things like that? Well, I can tell you no. Yeah, because once again, they're proton activities, and so we need to introduce. I'm not saying you don't watch comedy every now and then, but it's not a part of your habitual.
It's mostly football, boxing, UFC.
Yeah, it's all aggressive
Formula
stuff.
1. Yeah,
it's all aggressive stuff, and so we need to introduce new things in your world that's a bit more, as I said, happy, upbeat. Because UFC is war, boxing is war. Yeah, and I love them, but they're war. And so when you're in that state, you're just it's a frequency of expression. So you're watching it and you're like, yep, knock him out, this, that, and it's like It's aggression and aggression and aggression and aggression and aggression. And then football, you're so passionate about football. You're like, come on. And so it's more aggression. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you have moments of release in those moments, but then it goes back inside of you again and you become more frustrated and angry and anxious and so on and so forth. So we need to introduce new things into your world. Yeah, new tools.
It's funny you say that as well, because like when I started to notice back in January that my mental health was deteriorating was after a match of football. My team had lost and I took it the worst I think I'd ever took a loss. Now bear in mind, I've seen us get battered in cup finals.
you can't be talking about Arsenal, right?
No.
Because I'm an Arsenal supporter and yeah, it affects my moods.
Yeah, like the battering came from Arsenal in the cup final.
Oops. Okay.
I've seen us lose playoff finals. I've seen us get relegated on 17 points. But that never triggered me like I was triggered by this one match against Burnley in January.
Right.
I lost my head. I punched the hole in my wardrobe.
Wow.
I threw all of my body sprays, deodorants, aftershaves off my drawer, threw my fan across my bedroom. I went on Twitter and started arguing with people that didn't agree with my opinion straight away, but harshly. I was in a rage.
Wow.
And I woke up the next day, apologised to people that I'd said things to, because I'm not a person that ever means anyone else harm. But
in that moment,
I was reflecting the next day and I was like, that is so embarrassing. Like, there is something wrong here. Like, you've never reacted like that before. Like, I've walked out of Wembley Stadium before heartbroken when we lost to Fulham in a playoff final. I've walked out of an FA Cup final heartbroken. I walked out of the Carabao Cup final last season when we lost to Man City heartbroken.
But so you can see how it's affecting you, right?
Yeah. Like, although that heartbreak, I would always say, oh, but I had a good day out at the game. So the match doesn't matter because I had a great day out with friends, great day out. It's just brilliant. But like that one game against Burnley in January, there has never been a reaction like that. No one should react like that to a football match. No one should come to a point where they're smashing their bedroom up and breaking their own belongings over a game of football. It should not happen because that game didn't define any part of our season. It didn't relegate us. It didn't get us into Europe. It wasn't defining a trophy or anything. It was just a league game against Burnley, but we'd lost. And there was never any frustration like that on my part before. I've coached kids football. We've lost games where I've been frustrated with myself. Never reacted like that. Like in terms of football, I've seen it all. And there's never been a reaction like that in my life from it.
Because clearly it wasn't about the game, right? It was about you.
Yeah, and that was the first time I noticed that there was something wrong with me. But I tried to suppress it because where I was at the time, I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to show it. And I thought that it would bring more negativity and hassle my way if I spoke out and said, this is how I'm suffering, basically. My moods are low. They're erratic. I'm suffering. I need help. But I thought certain people that I had around me at the time, like they usually did, would have reacted negative towards it and would not have helped the situation at all. So I just tried to mask it, keep a lid on it, suppress it as much as I could. And it was hard because I would be around them at weekends and I wouldn't be able to get out of bed until 1, 2 in the afternoon because it would be dread towards the next week. I could be Saturday and I'd be like in bed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I would be dreading the next week. It was like, oh my God, I just have no motivation because of the lowness and the dread. And then I remember the game after that, I was watching it with them. I think we played Leeds. We won though, strangely enough. And and I was like saying to myself all game, like, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm, because Tyrone Mings, he plays for us and he triggers me terribly because he's so error prone. It gets on my nerves. So yeah, I was like, if he makes a mistake, just breathe. My one friend that, in a friendly manner, we wind each other up about the football.
Yeah.
I found myself getting aggressive with him in past weeks if things weren't going my team's way. Like, I'd be nasty to him basically, and it wasn't on. I have apologised. Like, I was like, ignore him. If he messages, just ignore. Try and suppress everything that triggered you in the last game. But someone shouldn't be watching a game of football and feeling like that. There is blatantly something wrong with someone if they're feeling like that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I've never had anger issues in my life. I've seen people and been close to people that have had them, and I've always said to myself, I will never ever get to that state. And as a teacher, you have to have all the patience in the world anyway. Like, there can be so many challenging children or day-to-day challenges, and you need to have the most patience anyone could ever imagine being a teacher, because it's every day is different, every child's different, they have all different needs. So yeah, patience and calmness has always been a big thing about me. But at the start of
what it is, it's because you've been compressing so much inside of you that you may point at the game as the reason, but it could have been anything. It could have been someone sneezing. It would have been that explosion, because it's been building up so long inside of you. So this is what we're gonna do, right? I'm gonna put a program together, and if you give me about 3 days, offline, I'm gonna give you my phone number, and you give me about 3 days. We're gonna start putting a program together, and then we start the journey.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it sound like a plan?
It sounds like a plan. I'm happy to go with. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so, just a question for you. Coming on this evening, and we're getting ready to come off now. How is there a difference? How do you feel? How did you feel before? How do you feel now? Is there any difference? Not really, or feel better, or how do you feel?
Prior to this, I was like, if this was this time last week, I would not have been able to do it. Knowing that it was getting put out and it was being recorded, I was like, absolutely no chance. But because I noticed that I'm coming to a higher functioning level of depression, because there's two, you have low functioning and high functioning, it's becoming higher, I've been able to do it. At the start, there was still that weight of hopelessness on me. Like, when the doctors would ask me at the hospital, do you see any hope? Do you feel any hope? And I'd say, no, there is none for me at all. Because there wasn't a plan. There was nothing. It was just, here's more antidepressants, here's more antipsychotics. Oh, if that don't work, we'll up your dosage. We'll up it again and again and again. And it was a plan that I was never comfortable with in the first place, medication. So this has made me feel like, okay, someone is taking their time to help me. That makes me feel like I'm worth something, at least. And that plan is something that I look forward to seeing. So there is hope in that sense, and something to hold on to.
That's all I ask from you, is just to give me a moment to help with the hope. You know? And I won't let you down. I'll give you my word, and I'm gonna stick to my word. And so
I appreciate it.
No, like, you deserve so much in your life. You deserve it. And we're gonna find that. We're gonna discover so much on that journey. So yeah, give me a few days. I'm gonna put a system together. I've got tons of information. I've been writing on I've even been writing on this. I've been writing on everything I can possibly get my hands on. I even got a bit more that I was jotting in. So every time you saw me looking down, I was actually writing away. And then I've got my laptop here, and I was actually researching as well. So if you saw me typing on my laptop, I was actually researching some of the medication that you were discussing and talking about as well. So I've just really been kind of like in my little world here, just zoning in. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to jump offline. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to continue talking to you once I've just finished recording. and then we will go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.